Good evening and welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. The Pasqua First Nation and Touchwood Child and Family Services have filed a proposed class action suit in Saskatchewan. It's to protect the rights of First Nations kids in the child welfare system who have been denied the Special Allowance Benefit, or CSA. The payment is similar to the Canada Child Benefit, and the province currently holds it in a reserve fund. Pasqua Chief Pagan says they are waiting for the province to respond.
The class action initiated by Touchwood Child Family Services is the lead, and we would expect and we hope that other ICFS agencies and other First Nations within the province of Saskatchewan would join in this class action. And in doing so, they would have to involve their legal counsel and file the necessary legal papers with the courts in order to join this class action.
To Ottawa now, where the federal government announced the new site for a residential school's national monument on Tuesday morning. Prime Minister Trudeau and Governor General Mary Simon were present as the location of the monument was announced. It will be in the West Block Terrace of Parliament Hill. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission called for the establishment of such a monument in a highly visible place within the city. Speaking at a press conference, Saskatchewan residential day school survivor Jimmy DeRoche reflected on what it should mean to all Canadians.
I don't want to see just a monument. I want something in there that will include educating our Canadians so that these things don't happen. There's no need for that kind of stuff to happen in our country. And I ask each and every one of us to be very vigilant and to remember those children that are here with us today in spirit.
To Thunder Bay now, where the troubled Police Services Board has taken the next step in reform as 2 First Nations women were appointed to leadership positions today. Karen Machado of the Red Rock Band takes over as board chair, and Denise Baxter of Martin Falls First Nation has been named vice chair. Alongside new Chief Darcy Fleury, they form an entirely Indigenous leadership group for Thunder Bay Police. The police service and the board have been the subject of several reviews, including one that found there was systemic racism against Indigenous peoples. New chair Karen Machado says there's much work to do, but she and the rest of the board are committed.
There's going to be a lot of consultation, and have faith in us. We're going to get there, but it's not going to happen overnight. There will, and hopefully will be some small short wins, but big stuff takes time. Cultural change takes time.
A group of Algonquin First Nations is speaking out against a proposed nuclear waste disposal site northwest of Ottawa. They say the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission is moving ahead without proper consultation. It will be located too close to the Ottawa River. APTN's Fraser Needham has more.
Kitigan ZB Chief Dylan Whiteduck says people in the Ottawa area need to wake up to what Chalk River Laboratories wants to do.
Canadians and the citizens of Ottawa should be scared of this. I'm very shocked that the citizens of Ottawa are not aware of this. I speak to many citizens of Ottawa, and they never heard of a nuclear waste disposal 2 hours away from their home here.
Whiteduck was speaking at a press conference in Ottawa Tuesday morning, along with representatives from the Algonquin Nation Tribal Council, Algonquin Nation Secretariat, and Quebecois First Nation. Last year, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, or CNSC, paused its hearings in order to give First Nations more time to weigh in on the project. But Quebecois First Nation Chief Lance Haymond says the extra 8 months was not enough time.
Our findings were realizing that there are huge gaps, and based on that reality, there's not an adequate time for us to have been consulted. Therefore, it's hard for us to make an informed decision and, provide consent.
The proposed site would handle 1 million cubic meters of low-level radioactive waste and be near the Ottawa River. where millions get their drinking water from. However, the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan are not against the proposed waste disposal site. Earlier this month, that First Nation signed a long-term relationship agreement with Canadian Nuclear Laboratories and Atomic Energy Canada. Heyman says they are disappointed.
We're troubled by, that decision. We're on the ground, we're seeing the impacts on the fauna, on the wildlife, on the area. And, they have people who are supposed to be in there, and they have to be observing the same issues as we do.
APTN News reached out to Pikwakanagan for comment, but did not hear back by airtime. Meanwhile, the Algonquin First Nations say they intend to make their case again at the next CNSC hearing in August. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
The Algonquins of Barrier Lake came back from a week-long evacuation on Sunday after wildfires encroached on their territory from all directions. The community is reeling, but is now preparing for fires to come. Amelia Fournier has that story.
I went to go see my dog, pet him before I left.
Sawyer Keys, age 12, was overjoyed to be reunited with his dog after being away from him for a week.
My eyes was getting watery, I was coughing.
That's because he was one of the first Algonquins of Barrier Lake to be evacuated on June 4th due to toxic air quality brought on by wildfires.
I noticed some kids wasn't out sometimes because I usually see some kids when around here.
He got on the first bus out to Gatineau, about 270 kilometers south of Rapid Lake, where his community lives.
Me and my mom and my sister had to get on that bus because we had bad lungs. Because some people were getting sick, plus my auntie was getting sick too. So we had to leave immediately.
He said his family packed up quick to get out of there, minus his dad and brother who stayed behind.
My mom told me to pack everything that I needed for the week because I didn't know we were staying there for a week because I thought we were going to be staying there for 2 days.
Pets were evacuated separately from the thick smoke.
Sometimes you see a moose swimming across this way or swim across that way, depending which way they want to go.
But hunter Emmett Papatsi said area wildlife was not so lucky.
All the little animals swimming across finding safety for themselves too. I wish there was more of us that could help a lending hand to the animals also.
Air quality between 0 to 50 is supposed to be acceptable. We're at 18.
Chief Casey Ratt got an air quality monitor installed in Rapid Lake right before the evacuations.
It went to 511, I believe, the day I left, and it was between 511 and 600.
He said he'd never seen anything like this year's forest fires.
It was pretty frantic, to say, because everybody was so scared because we had fires going, up north, from all four sides. So they were very worried that the fires were going to come close. I mean, we never had fires come this close before.
Casey and about 20 community members stayed until June 9th to keep the community safe, despite the health risks caused by the smoke, combined with poorly ventilated houses.
The biggest worry for everybody, I think, was the air quality. So, I mean, it was just thick here, and it was hard to breathe. And considering the houses that are, not very well, I'll put it this way, they're not up to standard.
Land and Resource Manager Charles Ratt says they need to build a fire line, a cleared strip of land, to protect the community.
That was in talk prior to the fire taking place. We were in talks about that, how that's going to happen. And definitely we have to have more equipment and readiness when it comes to forest fires.
Charles Ratt says they're still assessing the full impact of the fires, and one camp in the bush was destroyed, but community members prevented the worst of the damage.
Our people were on the ground, trying to remove whatever they can from their camps, and get what the valuables they can, and some were trying to prepare with fire hoses and get set up to defend their camps.
Ratt has managed to acquire new fire hoses and water pumps, and 31 Rapid Lake residents just completed their certification training to become auxiliary fire combatants.
Further down that way, towards Bronson Island, there the fires were close towards that way.
So hopefully, The Algonquins of Barrier Lake will be ready for the fires to come. Emilia Fournier, APTN National News, Rapid Lake, Quebec.
Thanks, Amelia. Holy, that Sawyer was quite the speaker. Well, there's a new tool for elders to help them speak up against wrongdoing. Details on that and more after the break. Welcome back. The Native Counseling Services of Alberta recently held a premiere of their latest animated video to help seniors get the respect they deserve. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
I was at the hospital for 10 hours.
What? Why didn't you call?
My phone died.
It's called No More Kiem, and it's aimed at residents at the Edmonton Aboriginal Senior Centre. Dozens of elders were on hand to learn what to do if they go to the hospital and no one listens to them or abuses them. Lee Skidmore is a media producer for Bear Paw Media and Education, a part of Native Counseling Services. She says Indigenous seniors do not always get treated as well as they should.
We wanted to share important information with seniors today. This information can help people speak up when they're in situations where they're uncomfortable or they're not being heard. And so it's good information to have anytime.
Medical professionals have busy jobs, but under Alberta's health charter, you can expect to be treated with respect and dignity.
Rocky Ward is a programming manager with the Native Counseling Services of Alberta. She spoke with attendees about the medical and financial abuse seniors are exposed to, and to speak up when they feel that they are wronged.
The video is certainly, it's very proactive. It tells you, that you do have a right. You do have a right as a human being, and as a senior, you do have a lot of rights. And speaking up for yourself, not being afraid to speak up for yourself, to be present in your own life, to get out of your own way. Sometimes we tend to let other people, dictate what we need.
Sir, you can't nap here.
I think I passed out. I need to see a doctor right away.
Are you sure you didn't just fall asleep?
All across Canada, there's Indigenous people who aren't getting the care they need. Sometimes that's fatal. And we want people to understand that they need to speak up. There's places to go to resolve conflicts and make complaints.
The resources are available at their 24 offices across Alberta or on their website. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Meanwhile, Indigenous and LGBTQ2S seniors in Manitoba say they aren't receiving enough support from the province. The Indigenous Senior Resource Centre is holding workshops to hear from seniors facing poor living conditions. Daryl Stranger recently discussed those details with Joanne Mason, the Indigenous seniors, who's from the Indigenous Seniors Resource Centre.
Joanne, thank you so much for joining us here today. First off, what do Indigenous and LGBTQ2S elders face daily?
The housing and health and those kind of issues and medicine tends to be the ones that are most mentioned, and people ask for help in those areas because it's so needed.
Well, there's been one event held so far in Winnipeg. What were some of the outcomes from that event, and what are some of the outcomes with these events that you're hoping to find?
There's other provinces that have a seniors advocacy group and seniors advocacy program similar to the children's advocacy. We need one for the seniors because from there we can help the seniors to live a better life, with respect and dignity and a better quality of life by having that. And we need that as soon as possible. We can't wait. I find a lot of our seniors are passing due to health and health reasons. And a lot of times people are not knowing what their health is like here in the city simply because they're left on their own or don't know where to access services. If we had one point of service, then that would help all of our seniors, but more in particularly for me, the Indigenous seniors.
What needs to be done here to be able to make this work?
Well, more funding, of course. That's always the case and always been the case. And it's our people, Indigenous seniors, that have been left, I guess, in the dark or in no one searching for them. But a lot of people have to come from the north and into Winnipeg and live, and they end up in very deplorable housing and government-run housing, which also is not adequate, and it doesn't provide their needs. And they're often left without proper medication because our Indigenous services are not covering a lot of medications that our seniors need, and so they can't pay for it out of pocket. They're not safe in those buildings and places, and the safety concerns, and then of course addictions and different things that our young people have that do come and affect the seniors that are trying to have just a quality of life, and it's their latter part of their life and they're just trying to have a peaceful time, and addictions have affected our elders in so many ways. Me being, often involved in many organizations that oversee our seniors. And so, it's the housing, it's a lack of food, it's a lack of adequate food and healthy food. With the budget that they're on, if they're on EIA or our wonderful old age pension, then they're not having enough money each month to be able to provide for themselves. And the other thing is that the seniors that are living in centers like senior homes are not properly provided for, and one of our seniors' home is way south. They can't even get visitors because people can't get to them, and it's too far away. We need something more downtown. We know the bay is being renovated and stuff. I hope they consult with the seniors for some of our advice on some of those things that they said they would build senior homes there.
Mm-hmm. Well, Joanne, there's certainly plenty to think about when it comes to this, but we'll have to leave the interview there for now. I want to say thank you so much for coming in and giving us a little update on the situation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Important stuff there indeed. The North American Indigenous Games are now just 25 days away, but Mi'kmaq communities are already celebrating. That story and more coming up. Welcome back. Time now for a look at our photo of the day. And it's a real beauty of the Grand Chute along Quebec's Des Moines River in Algonquin territory. This was sent in by John McDonald. Thanks, John. We always like to see everyone's territories. If you're out today, take a picture and send it to share@aptn.ca, and it might be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 17 with showers in Halifax, sun's out, and 28 in Fredericton. Partly cloudy and 24 for Kuujjuaq, cloudy and 16 in Inukjuak. 26 for Montreal, sunny and 29 in Val-d'Or. Sunny and 30 for Sault Ste. Marie, sun's out and 29 in North Bay. 24 and sunny skies for Thunder Bay, 31 in Sioux Lookout. 26 for God's Lake, rain, and 25 in Norway House. Showers, potentially, and 34 for Winnipeg. 27 with rain in Dauphin. 20 and rain in Regina. 21 in Saskatoon. 15 with showers in Meadow Lake and Buffalo Narrows. In northern Alberta, sunny and 23 in High Level. 16 for Fort Chip. 18 with rain in Edmonton. Showers and 17 for Lethbridge. Showers and 17 in Vancouver, 21 with rain in Kamloops. 23 with showers for Prince George, partly cloudy, and 27 in Smithers. 21 in Old Crow, 24 for Whitehorse. 17 and rain in Yellowknife, 23 in Norman Wells. 7 for Sax Harbor, sun's out, and 9 for Paulatuck. 15 in Chesterfield and Baker Lake, cloudy and 6 in Arviat, 4 in Resolute, plus 3 in Arctic Bay. Mi'kmaq communities in Nova Scotia are celebrating the upcoming North American Indigenous Games, and a canoe relay is making stops in Mi'kmaq nations. Our Angel Moore recently caught up with the Nag canoe.
Willow Peters was one of the Mi'kmaq athletes carrying this traditional Mi'kmaq birch bark canoe front and center.
I think it's pretty big. It's pretty cool. It wasn't that heavy.
They're members of the Buckingeg Nation participating in the upcoming North American Indigenous Games and this Nag Canoe Relay, which stopped at the Buckingeg Nation. 9 athletes represent the community. Peters is 13 years old and will be competing in Nag for the first time.
I've only just started doing track this year, and I've gotten pretty good at it, and I'm really excited to compete against other people and meet new people.
The relay is traveling to Mi'kmaq nations throughout Nova Scotia before the Games begin in July at the Millbrook Nation and Jabuktuk, where over 5,000 athletes will compete. It's the first time the event is being held in Mi'kma'ki.
I was part of the bid, so it was really exciting to be part of that and get the announcement that we were doing it. So it's just been an amazing journey. I gotta be honest, I wasn't sure, but it was really great when we actually had that official announcement to be able to have it here.
The traditional birch bark canoe represents the Mi'kmaq who traveled great distances on the waterways. Today, the canoe relay connects Mi'kmaq communities and showcases the athletes. Corey Julian, chief of Buckingeg Nation, says sports is good for the youth.
It plays a big part in our kids' well-being and growing up, and makes them successful in life. That and sports does that for every kid. So I think every child in the community should have the opportunity to play recreation. So that's something I'd like to see more of.
About 60 community members attended the event. Nag Swag was a hit, as lunch sizzled on the barbecue and little ones enjoyed the day. Julian is looking forward to welcoming other nations.
It was really putting our territory on the map. A lot of people don't know we're down here in the East Coast, and they forget, there's Mi'kmaq settlement here.
The canoe relay continues to 2 more Mi'kmaq nations and will end up in Jabuktuk, known as Halifax, on July 7th. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Buckingeg Nation.
Just 25 more days to wait. We will have plenty of Nag coverage right here for you while the games are underway. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday, the eve of National Indigenous Peoples Day. We'll have a special show for you here tomorrow to mark the occasion. Of course, for news anytime, you can visit our website. That's aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy, thanks for being with us. Have a great night.